Have you ever just stopped and really listened to the world around you? I don't just mean the obvious stuff like music or traffic, but the tiny sounds, the ones we usually just tune out completely. Well, let's get into it, because today we're going to uncover the hidden music that's playing all around us, all the time. The symphony and the noise.
You know, it all kind of starts with this amazing story. The legend goes that a famous composer's dad, this guy who was super popular in his neighborhood, started to notice something strange. Every day, on his walk, people would greet him with "hi" over and over. And in that constant chorus of hellos, he heard something else, a pattern, a rhythm, yeah, a melody.
And that story, it just begs the question, right? Is that even possible? Can the random, routine sounds of our lives, a simple greeting, a door creaking, a train rattling by, can those sounds actually hold the building blocks of music? Well, that's what we're here to find out.
Now, while that specific story about the dad and the highs is a little hard to pin down, the idea behind it, that is incredibly powerful, and it's very, very real in the world of music.
See, what really matters here isn't whether that story is 100% fact. The spirit of it, this idea of finding art in the totally mundane, that's what's important. It's been the driving force behind some of the most innovative composers for decades. Let's take a look at how this one simple idea sparked a whole artistic movement.
So this brings us to the artists who didn't just ponder this idea. They built their careers on it. These are the absolute pioneers who took what we call found sound and turned it into some seriously groundbreaking music.
And here are just a few of them. You can see how different their approaches were. You've got Steve Reich, who used recordings of speech and the sounds of trains in his masterpiece Different Trains. Then there's Scott Johnson, who literally transcribed spoken words into melodies for his electric guitar. And of course the famous, or maybe infamous, John Cage. His piece, for 33 seconds, is just silence. He asks us to listen to the sounds of the room itself. Each one of them, in their own way, is proving the exact same point. Music is absolutely everywhere, you just have to decide to hear it.
Okay, so when you're creating a whole new kind of art, you kind of need a new language to go with it. To really get what these composers were doing, we need to know a couple of key terms that basically defined their entire world. First up is musique concrète. It's French, and it literally means concrete music. So instead of using notes on a page, these composers would use recorded sounds from the real world, like a car horn, a leaky faucet, a door slamming shut, as their raw material. Those sounds were the concrete objects they used to build their compositions from the ground up.
And then you have speech melody, which takes this whole thing even further. This is exactly what we were talking about with Scott Johnson. It's the practice of listening to the natural ups and downs, the rhythm and the pitch of how we talk, and treating that as a musical score. The notes are already there, hiding in plain sight in all of our conversations.
Okay, so we've talked about these famous composers and their big ideas. But what about you? What happens if we take this same way of listening and apply it not to some fancy concert hall, but to your own home at the end of a long day?
All right, I want you to join me here. Let's do a little thought experiment. For the next minute or so, just imagine your home is a grand symphony hall. And all those simple little sounds of your evening routine, that's actually a carefully composed orchestral performance. Come on, let's have a listen.
So, this symphony begins. First, the overture. That low groan of the door hinge is like a trombone, and then you get that sharp click of the latch. The second movement, a dance of strings. That's the cello-like sound of a chair sliding across the floor. Third, a woodwind rhapsody. The crisp, fluttering rustle of you turning the pages of a newspaper. Fourth, a percussive scherzo. The steady, rhythmic brushing of your teeth is the snare drum. And finally, the lullaby coda. That soft sigh of the sheets as you get into bed.
But here's where it gets really interesting. That whole evening symphony we just described? Well, it has two totally possible interpretations. The sounds themselves, they don't change one bit. But how we experience them, well, that can be completely, radically different.
Think about it. For someone who's feeling calm and peaceful, those sounds are a lullaby. They make sense. There's a coherence, a harmony. It's like a private orchestra gently guiding them into sleep. But for a restless spirit, someone who's stressed or agitated, it's a headache. The door doesn't groan, it grates. The chair scrapes. The paper crackles. The toothbrush squeaks. It's not a symphony at all. It's just a bunch of irritating noise. And that right there is the ultimate truth of it all. The sound itself is neutral. The real conductor is our own perception. The music isn't really out there. It's created by how we choose to interpret it. Whether we hear a beautiful symphony or a pounding headache depends entirely on our own inner harmony. We're the ones holding the baton.
Which really leaves us with just one final, very personal question. Later on, when you're going about your evening, what are you going to be listening for? Are you going to hear noise? Or are you going to hear music? What symphony will you hear tonight?